Hey, it's Joel back with you again for another episode of this show. Thanks for coming back. Today, we've got some real special in store for you. That's right, we are going to be talking about being new at something. All right, are you ready? Let's begin.
Welcome to Reticence and Reverie, a calm space for deep feelers, creative souls, and those that want to know them better. Joel and Carrie explore the beauty and wisdom of introspection, imagination, and intentional living. Get ready for compelling and vulnerable conversations on joy, creativity, and life, as well as considerate answers to your deepest questions. It's an invitation to pause, reflect, and feel inspired.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Reticence and Reverie. I'm one of your hosts, Carrie.
And I'm Joel, the other host. How are you, Carrie?
I'm well. Thank
That's
you.
Good.
So today we're going to be talking about being new at something, whether you're just beginning a new hobby, new career, new skills.
Like podcasting?
Yes, that is new for us, for sure.
Indeed.
So what's something that you've had to be new at?
Oh, let's see. I will say just ahead of time, with a little bit of context here, that I don't struggle with this as much as most people do. But that doesn't mean that I don't understand it and I don't face the same things or struggle with them. I just have sort of more practice of overcoming it because I had people in my life, luckily or unluckily, who pushed me through this at an early age. So I've done a lot of this.
Right.
So I've got lots of these. And of course, I remember, I skied competitively. I went to college, I started a career. I did all kinds of things. And so I do have experience with it. But one big one that stands out for me is during the pandemic, I took on a hobby of trying to learn how to DJ. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. And that was a whole learning experience, learning the technical side of it, learning the ins and outs of how to do it, the flow of music, understanding music structure, understanding music theory, learning the software, learning the equipment, and then, of course, during the pandemic, we had to live stream it. We couldn't do it in person. And so learning that was a whole thing. And it took a couple of years. And there's a lot going on with that. A lot of things. There's a lot of feelings in terms of fears and a lot of in terms of frustrations of, not being perfect and screwing things up and, lots of things like that. So anyway, I guess we're going to talk all about that stuff today. What about you?
Yeah, I've had lots of different things over the years, having kids was a big one for me. So not just college, but kids and, just buying houses and
being an adult.
Yeah. I professionally, for some time in corporate America, I ended up in board positions that were surprising to me. I never thought I'd be a president or a chairman of a non-for-profit board. And there's huge learning curves with that. There's imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, a big part of what people go through. But in recent years, one of my biggest ones is doing the professional photography, taking it from just pictures I like to take for myself that I never showed anybody to putting it all out there. And it's a lot to be seen for the first time.
Yes.
It's a lot to show not just yourself, but some of your work and to be unsure of these things. So we thought that this would be a really good topic to bring to everybody, let you know you are certainly not alone.
Definitely not.
And I'm going to try to walk you through some strategies for these things too.
Absolutely. Great. So let's, to that end, what are some, well, I guess we need to talk about the pitfalls first, right? Like I guess we kind of just touched on them though, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, we touched upon them, but the biggest pitfall that we see is just not getting out of your comfort zone. So what is your comfort zone? It's that place where you go to rest. And it's a good place to stop and figure out where you're going, but it's not a place to live forever. And I think sometimes we forget that life is all about change. There's constant change.
Yeah.
So comfort zone is a very difficult thing just to get yourself out of, to even start this, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people get stymied right there. That's just like, and not even in terms of like, I don't want to ever do it. It's just that, although I'm sure there's a certain amount of that too, but I think a lot of people get into not today, that thing of like, that's a lot. I'm not in the mood today. I don't have the wherewithal today. I didn't sleep enough last night.
Tomorrow,
right? Tomorrow will be better. A lot more planets will come into alignment. If I can get some of these planets to come into alignment, this will be so much better, and it will be more perfect. Which I think probably leads into one of the other pitfalls.
Yeah. So you also have lacking clear goals.
Yeah.
You just kind of want to maybe learn about something, but you don't know why or where you want to take it to. You don't know what to apply it to, or even how far you can go with that. So lacking clear goals is another pitfall.
Yeah. That's a big one. If you're just like, and I mean, there's a certain amount of understandability to that too, is if you just start a hobby and you're just like, I really like learning about knitting. You don't want to go to some knitting competition. Are there knitting competitions? I don't know.
There may be.
But that may not be your goal to start off with. It may be, but in which case, that there's sort of a roadmap for you and you need to follow it. But if you don't have that and you're just starting out and you're just learning and you're sort of going along and saying, I learned this one little thing, I want to learn the next thing. You don't really know where you're going. But again, it probably would help to say, I know that I just want to learn more.
Right. Well, and part of the not understanding clear goals is some people will say, I want to be a master artist. They're looking at the entire mountain.
Yeah.
They're not looking at the first few steps. And that's where goals are so important, because if you're looking at an entire mountain, you might say, I can't do that.
Right.
Whereas if you just look at the first 5 steps, you'll be right there. You'll be able to at least take those steps. Now you're a little bit closer.
Right. And they probably need to be a little bit measurable so that you can sort of see your progress. You don't want to say something like, I only want to do this one little part and I want to be able to know how good I am. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm getting lost in my words, but you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That you kind of want clear, measurable goals so that you can say, look, I'm achieving success. I'm going down that pathway and I am learning and I am growing.
Right.
And
then another pitfall we have is limited mindset. And this, honestly, in my coaching experience, is the number one reason that holds everybody back. And what are, limited mindsets? What if I can't? I'm never going to be able to finish this. I'm never going to be as smart as.
Well, now you're getting into imposter syndrome stuff.
Right. So imposter syndrome definitely lives in the limited mindset pitfall. And telling yourself that you're going to fail at something is the number one way to fail at something.
Well, yeah.
And then speaking of failing at things, we shouldn't be looking at lessons you learn during learning something new as a means of failing. It really should be lessons.
Yeah.
You are learning a lesson each time. And the only way to truly fail is to not try or not get back up and do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's one of the larger reasons that a lot of people struggle with being able to do something new.
Yeah, certainly.
They're afraid of how it's going to look. This is where perfectionism lives. And we're going to get more into the limited mindset about that, but it definitely is one of the biggest pitfalls, along with, viewing lessons as failures.
Sure.
And then, you have things like unrealistic expectations.
I'm going to be a master painter in a month from now.
Correct. And I think we've all had that, especially as a child, I was very big into that, where if I was not immediately good at something, at least mediocre, right? Not the worst at something, I just did not want to continue doing it. It was too scary. It was not something I was interested in.
Yeah. And I can relate to that. Not personally necessarily, but I've witnessed this a lot. I've taught a lot of people to ski. I used to teach kids skiing, and I've taught a lot of friends and family members, and a lot of them they run into this all the time, which is there's a little small learning curve at the beginning, which they kind of get over quickly, and then they're having fun, but then they get to the next step and they expect to be, going down double black diamonds on the first afternoon. And like, that's just not going to happen. And they get frustrated. And I've had a lot of people that I've been teaching just give up. They bought all this equipment. They're up there in the first lesson and they just go, forget it. And they just throw in the trash can on the way to the car. And, I feel like that's such a waste, not only of money, but of time, of energy. And it's like you're saying, like, if you learn those lessons, you're just going to be better off pushing through that. And so, yeah, I've witnessed that firsthand a lot. And, yeah.
Well, and then that also leads into, speaking of teaching and mentoring and that kind of thing, one of the biggest pitfalls is trying to do it alone.
Yeah.
Right? We talk about community all the time.
Yes.
And community can be friends, family, mentors, teachers, anybody in your
peers.
sphere, yes, that can help you. Having people that you can hold yourself accountable to helps. So trying to do it alone is definitely a larger pitfall as well.
Gotcha.
So we talked about some of the pitfalls. Let's talk about some of the strategy to combat them.
Okay, sure.
So
that's why we're all here, right?
yeah, for sure. So you touched upon it, but we need a small win tracker.
Yeah.
Some people use planners that have goals. I tend to I use a planner, but I also like to put in my to-do lists small goals as well.
Well, that's nice because in that context, I'm not one of these people. I'm not a list person necessarily. I always wish I was, and I try. But I do know there's a certain good feeling to clicking something off the list.
Yes.
To saying check or crossing it off or saying done, taking that thing off of the bulletin board, whatever, because then it feels like a small success.
Right. So people find happiness and pleasure and enjoyment out of life when the chemical dopamine is released. And so checking off a box is a small dopamine hit.
For sure.
And when you have those feedbacks, that positive feedback, you're going to be more likely to continue doing it.
Sure.
So definitely setting those smaller goals, taking the first few steps at a time. When I was starting my coaching business, it was extremely overwhelming.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And I did not know where to start. And so one of the strategies here is getting a mentor. So in my coaching business, I actually utilized one of my other mentors for photography, which would be
who's that?
Mr. Joel sitting across from me.
Hello.
So leveraging teachers, mentors, I had no experience at starting a business, where to even start, how to create an LLC. And there's guides. And of course, a lot of people like to use AI for things. But having somebody break down each part of that and walk me through that process. Yeah. And you did a really good job of reminding me the entire time. It's new. And yes, it's stressful. And
but stop looking at the whole mountain. We're going to take it to base camp 1.
Yep.
We're going to go to base camp 2.
Yep.
We're going to
and you would give me actionable items, right? You would give me those goals. Okay, the first thing you need to do is to file your paperwork. Here's where you go for that.
Yeah.
And I did that first.
Yeah.
And then it's utilizing that paperwork and opening up, bank accounts or, starting the website.
Yeah.
The website was a big one.
I do remember that you were just like, I don't even know how to even get myself out there. And I don't even want, I was just like, hey, just, and this is not an ad. Just go to Squarespace, go to GoDaddy, do whatever you got to do. Wix, I guess, is another one. But anyway, the point is, just do that next. That's the next step.
Right. And if I had looked at everything that goes into it from the beginning, I would have said, this is too much and I can't handle this.
No, that's opening the closet and all the crap falls out on top of you instead of just saying, you know what, I'm just going to sweep the floor in front of the closet first. Then we'll get into the rest of it later.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then you have your mentors, you have your trackers, and they call it a safe container. So it's starting where you are. Okay. So I'm not going to, like you said about those kids, right? I have my ski instructor in front of me, and I'm not going to say, tomorrow I'm going to ski the, what'd you call it? The double black diamond.
Yes. Yeah.
I was not a skier, born and raised in the Midwest.
Not yet.
But you need to be able to understand, break things down to avoid that overwhelm, because it is very easy to get overwhelmed with that. And setting a realistic goal, right? So if you're saying, I'm going to, most restaurants you hear, they kind of give it 2 years, right?
Yeah.
They say, okay, there's a 2-year window where it's going to take time to get it going and get the cash flow coming in. But being realistic about that, regardless of whatever it is. But having that and allowing that trial period before you make any other decisions.
Yeah, sure.
So what are these steps that you can be taking then with knowing all this pitfalls and maybe some ways around those? You want to get curious. Okay. That's the first step. Get curious about whatever it is that you're about to embark upon, whether it's a new job or a new hobby. Get curious about it.
Well, and I'm also assuming that you got curious about it at some point, which is why you thought about endeavoring. You might have then hit the wall of the unsurmountable mountain and then got uncurious. But if you can get back in touch with being curious again, then you're going to find that spark again. The
more curiosity you have over something that you are embarking upon, the more likely and the easier it will be to retain the information. Yeah. So the next step would be experiment, which is play. And they've done studies that show that when we play, when we're learning, whether it's children or adults, we much more easily absorb the information. It takes far less iteration to learn something new when you're in a play state of mind. Absolutely. Experiment. Yeah. Look at things from different perspectives. Say, if this, then what? And just move those pieces, see what fits. And I've kind of learned in life, you can set out with one goal in mind, but the better able you are to pivot, because it might not be exactly what you set out to do. Yes. But it might be better. True. So allowing for that to kind of take its shape as it does form. Absolutely. And a little side note here, not to derail you completely, but the side note here is that's what, in the creative space, that's what we like to call happy accidents. And I had a professor in art school who was, I believe, a professor of sculpture. Not that it matters, but I was in this place of trying to understand the three-dimensional art form of sculpture and struggling a lot with a lot of these things. Now that we're sitting here talking about it, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking I didn't have
a place I was going. I didn't see that sculpture inside the block of wood. I didn't know where I was going.
Yes.
But I was just scraping away at it, just knocking away at it. And at some point, I made a mistake and knocked off way too much, more than what I had in my mind. And the professor was nice and calm and just said, happy accidents. And I said, I don't know what you're trying to say. Mm-hmm. But by the end of it, I had somehow got to something that I liked and that it wasn't the best thing I ever did, but I got to a point where I was happy about it. And I remember turning it in and him saying, you got to embrace those happy accidents. Like that takes you in a direction sometimes. It gave me a direction. You know, I knocked off too big a corner, so it took me in a more triangular fashion. And it's just like, in the end, I wanted that. I felt better with that. And so that's just a little anecdote to illustrate what you're saying.
And that exactly leads into the last point, and it's allow for lessons instead of failures. We touched upon it earlier. You just talked about it, where it's
that was saying, a happy accident.
Yeah, it's the old Bob Ross adage, the happy accidents,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
You accidentally get a smudge of paint somewhere, now it's a cloud.
Exactly. And actually, in speaking in terms of photography too, that this is something that will really help you hone in on what your personal style is when it comes to, well, not just photography, but anything creative, certainly. And so I think that letting yourself do this play, letting yourself make these mistakes, seeing them as lessons is going to help you not only reach your goal of learning this thing and mastering this thing, but figuring out your place with this thing in the world of this thing and its place in your world. So.
Yeah, I know with photography for myself, I went out to Palm Springs to visit my brother with my father a few years ago. Yeah. And I had just bought a brand new camera. Mm-hmm. And
under the advice of a certain mentor.
Yes. That mentor keeps coming back up. And so I have this camera, and it was the first time that I was kind of stretching its legs, if you will.
Mm-hmm. The real test drive, not just the the showroom. Yeah.
So we went out to Joshua Tree, and there was this crazy little fake mining town, ghost town that's there. And it's really, really neat. And I was thinking, this is going to be great pictures. Yeah. So I went through, I was taking pictures. I was trying to stay present in the moment with everybody too, but I was so excited. And I remember getting home and putting that card in and seeing that I had actually turned the exposure up. Now you're talking a bright, sunny place with high exposure. Everything was super just washed out.
Blown out, yeah.
Completely blown out. The sky, the people, everything. And I was so upset. And then I dropped it into Lightroom and I kind of played around with it, and the pictures came out definitely not what I was expecting them to,
right.
But I was able to pivot and look at it, and now I have these awesome pictures that kind of have this old, grainy
sepia kind of thing going on.
Yeah. And so it's not exactly what I had expected, but I was able to pivot in that moment. And I learned the lesson, right? So this time when I take it out of the bag, I'm going to make sure that I'm not up to +3 again.
Yes, exactly.
on my camera and have that happen. Yeah. So it's so important to make sure to take those pivot, fix what you can of any of the, potential mistakes that were made.
And if not, learn from them.
Yeah. And giving yourself grace too.
Yeah. And maybe even the strategy of, I'm excited about the happy accidents. What accidents am I going to encounter that are going to make me pivot or pinball through this process that's going to get me through the other side with lots of lessons learned? And ultimately, that's what mastering is. That's what masteration. That's not the word.
I masturbate all the
time. Oh my God. As I was saying that, I was like, that is not the word. The mastering. Okay, hold on. I'll get back on track here. Okay, well, there you go. There's a happy little accident itself. Anyway, I think that it's important to have that be one of your goals potentially, is that knowing that to master something, to be a master at something, is having learned lots of lessons you didn't think you were going to have to learn or didn't know that you needed to learn to become a master. And all those things go into the briefcase of a master.
Yeah, because honestly, discomfort is temporary.
Yeah.
The more that we remember that, the better off we're going to be.
Absolutely.
Because the more you try and the more you take lessons out of those things, you're going to be more successful. There's less suffering when you do it, instead of saying, I made such a bad mistake and I'm never going to do that again. If you're like, okay, that was, a lesson. Now I need to pivot and I need to do this to be able to combat that. And each time you do that and you stay in a growth mindset, is what this is basically all part of. You're going to suffer less as you're going through that process. So giving yourself grace in that. I'm new. It's okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay that I feel uncomfortable right now. It's not permanent. I'm going to get through this.
Well, and it's not even just that it's not that bad or that I'm going to get through it, just that I need to embrace being the student, being the non-master, being under comfort, because the discomfort is what tempers you. It's the crucible that tempers the alloy, if you will. And that's part of it. That's part of mastering.
Yeah.
I was the student. I was uncomfortable. That helped me temper myself and become the master. So.
And a lot of times we get really good at things, whether by happenstance or something that you really work towards. We get these egos that happen, right? Where we say, I've already mastered something. I need to stay in this. This is my comfort zone.
I am a master of this. Why go on to something that I'm the student again? Well, how would I do that? Well,
so shifting yourself from that mindset to curiosity, to being a learner, is how you're going to be able to learn new things. And honestly, once you start doing that, it was really difficult for me at first because I really built myself into a career that had a very specific niche. And it really did feel like, okay, I've painted myself into this corner. I'm never going, this is, that limited mindset. I'm never going to be able to do something that I love or utilize.
Or find another corner that I can paint myself into or out of or whatever.
Right. So I had very much limited my mindset, but the more that I tried new things, the more that I pushed myself out of the comfort zone, the easier it was for me to get out of that comfort zone, to get started, to know that it's easier if I take it in small bites.
Yeah.
So shifting that mindset to that of somebody who's maybe mastered something, or at the very least, a novice, to I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, is going to be a really big skill by doing any of that stuff. And
that in itself is a skill you can take to anything.
So, and one of the things that I always make sure I talk to people about, specifically when we're talking about changing careers, is you go in that first day and you're going to leave, your head is going to be full, you're going to be confused and overwhelmed. But in a year, this is going to be nothing. You're going to know these people. You're going to understand the systems. You're going to be able to, function day to day. So just remembering that.
You're going to know where to park. You're going to know how to get up in the elevator. You're going to know how to get through the door with your badge. You're going to know how to navigate to your desk. You're going to know how to turn on your computer and all those things. But then you're also going to know how to master the job itself, which is the day-to-day stuff that you're there to do.
Right.
Because then once you that's all the first week stuff. Once you get past that, then you're into the, how do I do this job? And then there's the basics of that. And then that's the second week stuff. And when you get on to the third week, you're into the meat of it. And you're just going to grow from there. Right.
Yes, exactly. So all of these things really work towards us becoming happier, more well-rounded people. So there was an NYU study that showed diverse experiences enhance happiness. So it basically says when you engage in new experiences, the brain releases dopamine, which we were just talking about, which improves your mood.
Of course.
It also creates flexible thinking, so you're not just stuck in that limited mindset.
So you're actually feeding your brain.
Yes, it's part of what they call psychological health.
Interesting. Okay.
So you're going to stimulate your mind more. You're going to combat your boring routines by doing these new things.
Yeah.
You build resilience, which is what we talked about with suffering less and being able to think quicker on your feet, to be able to engage in new things.
Sure.
I think the biggest thing that we miss when we talk about why should we get out of our comfort zones, why should we do these new things?
Why should we take anything new?
Right. Why even take any of this on? The personal growth that you go through.
Yeah.
Not only to just put yourself out there, but what you can look back upon, where you started from, where you want to go to. There are these moments that you can't measure. You maybe can't even explain to other people.
Yeah.
But they are moments that change you forever.
Yeah.
And it's so important that we spend our time and energy doing things that make us feel alive.
Yeah.
Especially in today's day and age.
Yeah. And I think it's also important here probably at this point to pause and say that it's important to pause and look back at those things.
Yes.
As you're going up the mountain or as you conquer this mountain, look back, look at the view. Think about the journey and what you got out of it before you just go on to the next peak, Because it's real easy at that point to be like, well, now I'm in this mode of just upward, onward. But I think it's really important to stop, take it all in, measure it, take in that dopamine, take in that proud moment, and be able to then turn around and move forward again from there.
I think that's a really good point. One of the easiest ways to make sure that you're doing that, and I always suggest this daily to any coaching clients, before you go to sleep at night, think of 3 things that you're proud of today.
That's a good one.
So
that's a good one for all of us.
Yeah, regardless, but if you spend the time and energy focused on what's going right, you're rewiring your brain to continue to look for those things, to look for the good and the positives. So regardless if it's this or any other topic, that's the best way to remind yourself where you've been, what you've been through, and being proud of that.
Yeah.
You and I had spoken the other day. There was a Jim Carrey Instagram reel where he's giving it looks like a college commencement address.
Yeah.
And he's talking about his father and the life lesson that his father taught him. And I thought this was so poignant for this topic today. And in this speech, he says that his father always wanted to be a comedian, but he didn't think that he could do that, right? He had the limited mindset.
Yeah.
And Jim goes on to say that he took a safe route. I think he said he went into finance.
Something like that, yeah.
And when he was 12 years old, his dad was let go from his job.
Yeah.
And then Jim said something that I thought was just amazing. He says, if you can fail at something you don't want, so you might as well try to do something that you love.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking of these things, why should I even put myself out there for this new hobby or this job that I would love to do or pivot to? If it's something that is meaningful to you, if it's something that fills your cup, as we say, those are the things that we should be doing.
Yeah.
Those are the things that are going to make us feel alive.
Absolutely.
It's not doing things for money. It's not doing things for the titles,
the fame,
for any
the
of
accolades.
it. It's never going to make you happy. You need to find the things that make you feel alive, that make you feel curious, that make you want to continue learning and mastering whatever that is.
Absolutely. And I will say right here too, I'll drop in a link to the Jim Carrey thing in the show notes. So if you'd like to see it for yourself. So anyway, moving on. We're back to it.
So one of the things that I always like to say in regards to that is, what you're not changing, you're choosing.
Yes. Well, in action or indecision is a decision.
Right. Yeah. So I usually, when people kind of confront this and say, do I need to do this thing? Should I embark on this journey? I usually ask them, are you who and what you want to be right here, right now? Mm-hmm. Yeah. If the answer to that is no, you got growth.
Yeah.
And everybody's
going to
have some growth.
On some front, because none of us are done.
No.
The cement is not dry on any of us.
And, I'll give you like 3 quick little rules in regards to that.
I'm ready.
All right. You ready?
Lay it on me.
If you don't go after what you want, you will never have it.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what it is, right?
Very true.
If you don't ask, the answer will always be no.
Yes.
So make sure you're asking for the things that you want. And if you don't take steps forward, you're always going to be in the same place. Mm-hmm. And that's not a bad thing. Sometimes we do need to pause. We need to sit in our comfort zone.
And rest a while or recuperate or even just recharge our batteries. Yeah, that's part of the journey. Like I said, sometimes we need to be in the comfort zone for a little while to look back on how we got to be in the comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly. And, sometimes then the best way to know that you're ready is when the comfort zone becomes uncomfortable. And I know that sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting there and you're watching your same show, doing the same routine, and you're thinking, I just don't feel like myself.
Yeah. Or this is boring, or this doesn't have the same impact it always does. The comfort isn't as comfortable. Or as I always just kind of described it, I'm just getting itchy. It's like I'm just unsettled where I should be settled. And it's just, I'm hungry for something more again, but I haven't gotten enough hunger, passion to like get up off the couch and go to the next thing.
Yes.
So.
And when you can find that passion, go for it. Mm-hmm. Go for it. We do a lot of things in life that aren't necessarily enjoyable, but we need to regardless, right? So finding things that are outside of that, that make you feel alive again. Mm-hmm. If you're feeling bored, it's time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, great. So speaking of doing something new, do you have something that you are planning on
that I would like to embark?
That you would like to try that would be new? I know you've done lots and lots, but
I have, but again, onward and upward, I've been thinking for a long time as part of where I'm at in my career in terms of mentorship and taking on sort of a more teaching role in photography rather than just I just want to be a photographer and I just want to do the day-to-day work of photography. At some point that becomes stagnant or stale or itchy. And you start to itch or yearn for something more. And what I recently have been venturing into is passing the torch, as it were, to the next generation of photographers. And so it's getting into more of a teaching role. And what that involves for me is a lot of scary things that I haven't done before, like public speaking. Also, not only viewing myself as an expert, but putting myself into a position to allow other people to view me as an expert.
Right.
And that's scary because of all those things like
imposter
syndrome. Like, who's going to think I'm an expert? Like, do I really, have I earned it? Have I earned that enough? Will they think I've earned it? Even if I think there's all those things. And so that's coming up for me. And I'm taking on those small little bite-sized pieces in little stages. One of those things like that scares the heck out of me is the public speaking thing. When I was in college, I fainted while giving a speech in front of classmates I'd known all semester. And so that kind of thing scares me. But I got to take that on in little bites, such as a podcast.
Yeah.
DJing, in front of people. And those things are all mastering little bits of other things that will help me on this new endeavor, when I eventually get to it. And so therefore, I'm getting my 10,000 hours, as we speak about, on the teaching track by putting in hours on other little tracks like, hey, let's start a podcast, things like that. So that's my big one.
Good.
And you?
Well, I have a tendency to take a lot of things on.
Yeah.
So, being new at something is to set better boundaries for myself.
Okay.
I hold a whole lot of titles at the moment.
Yes.
I did just put chairman down. So, but with having kids and everything, I want to build this podcast. This is my current.
You're definitely new at this. So it's a thing for sure.
Well, yeah. So the podcast is new. I'm still putting in my 10,000 hours as a professional photographer.
You are in the middle of a couple of mountains here. So
yes, I do the life coaching, and I also still currently am, in my position in corporate America.
Yeah.
And president of one of the boards, and so
kids and
I have the kids, and so one of the things too is learning when to take a break, take a step, and say, okay, I have a lot of new things that I'm working on, and making sure that I'm focusing on those.
Yeah. So you're kind of new at having boundaries for yourself and new at giving yourself a little space in your life.
Yes.
New at not going to the next peak as the next thing.
Yes.
That's what you're new at, is slowing down.
Yeah, I'm learning to take better care of myself. I've kind of always been this person that takes care of everyone and everything else around me.
Yes.
And so it's not a new hobby. I think I have plenty of those as well.
Oh, but it's a new endeavor, certainly.
Yes. And it's equally important to remember yourself in all of this as well. And it is possible to take too much on. And we are going to have entire podcasts about the imposter syndrome you were talking about, and self-care, which is something that I am learning as I'm working with others on it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where we really help each other out, that we are this community, that we aren't alone in it. Yeah. And it's so important to know that everybody, even, the infamous Michael Jordan had to start somewhere.
Of course.
He, infamously didn't make his 7th grade basketball team.
Was it that? I'm not sure.
Maybe freshman year of high school.
Something like that.
Oh, there's going to be so many people mad at me about that.
I know, being from Chicago and everything. But I have the excuse of, who? Michael who? No, I'm just kidding. But
everybody knew who Michael Jordan is.
Yes,
but even he failed at something and maybe didn't just have the immediate raw talent, but he spent the time and energy going through and getting better and mastering something that I don't think anybody could have dreamed of becoming as big as what he did. And it doesn't have to be that big of dreams. No. It could just be, you want to hang a beautiful painting on your wall. So you want to learn watercolors,
right. Exactly.
It just whatever is personal to you, do it. Do it for yourself.
Absolutely. I was going to just jump in here and say, as we sort of start to wrap this up, like as we're talking about taking on new things, but also how you talk to your clients about what are 3 things you're proud of. So what are 3 things you're proud of in, I don't know, let's just say this podcast. Like so far, what are 3 things that you are? No,
it's a really good question.
You are proud of right now.
Put me on the spot
about this endeavor specifically. Yes, it's time to get vulnerable.
Yes.
So.
Oh, I'm ready. Okay. So the first thing I'm really proud of is the fact that I am sitting here doing this at all. Mm-hmm. Before our first podcast, just for me to say our names and the name of the podcast took me approximately 45 minutes. Yeah. And I am not even exaggerating. This is not what I've ever thought I would be good at, something I would want to do. So I am really proud of the fact that I'm sitting here right now recording this.
Good. Me too. I'm very proud of us. I'm very proud of you too. You're doing great. And I don't know if you've noticed out there, but it's getting easier, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It gets easier with every iteration, each time that we do this. In fact, today before we started, you asked me, you know, are you excited about this? Or are you nervous?
Are you dreading it? Yeah.
I'm excited about it. And it's really important to remember that when you're starting something new, it's going to feel like nerves, but it's really excitement. And if you
call them butterflies.
And if you frame it as excitement rather than nervousness, you're going to start speaking to your mind and it's going to start agreeing with you, right? So I'm very excited about this.
Good. And so what else? So that was one.
So that was one big one.
One big, proud.
Also that I am not letting my inner critic win.
Good.
That I know that this is something that is near and dear to my heart. This is my passion project right now.
Yeah. And not just this topic, the podcast of getting this out there, building this community, all that stuff.
100%. 100%. This is something that like I said, I never thought I would be able to even speak here, but let alone bring these topics to people. And, I think the last thing for me is that I'm pushing through imposter syndrome. And I do have that down as one of our full topics because it really does warrant an entire podcast to talk about imposter syndrome.
Absolutely.
Because everybody goes through it.
But I think that's good to sort of bring up as a sort of more banner topic, and then we can get into all the little things.
The nuance. The nuances.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's no accident that we're putting being new at something as one of our first few episodes. I mean, we're not doing this 150 episodes in because we won't be new at this anymore.
Yeah.
And so part of this is showing you us being new at this. And so I think that goes
and us just being vulnerable here. I am a known I like to say I'm a recovering perfectionist.
I love it.
And with being that, it is really hard to be new at something. But when it's something that's so important and this is the beginning of a community that I've wanted to build for years, and being in the right place at the right time with the right people to make this happen, I'm just I'm so grateful. I'm not just proud of myself,
but you're grateful.
But I'm grateful to be here and be doing this with you.
Good. Me too. Okay, so would it be safe to say that you are grateful for the opportunity to do this and proud of yourself with what you're doing with it?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, good.
How about you? Give me hit me with
things.
Some
I'm proud
things.
of us taking this on because there were so many reasons not to. You know, not right now. We're doing all this other stuff with our business. Not right now. You have the kids. Not right now. XYZ. You have the board. Not right now. I just up and moved across the country. Like, there's a million reasons not to, but I'm proud of us for saying, pushing through all of the excuses. So I'm definitely proud of that. I'm proud of just the simple stuff on the surface I'm proud of how this is coming out. I'm proud of the production value of it. I'm proud of it being polished and slick as it is.
Because you're amazing.
I can do some things with stuff. I was new at this once too, where, but I'm proud that it hopefully doesn't sound amateurish and beginnerish, and even if we are, the stuff we're struggling with is not the stuff that's going to get in the way of us bringing our message to you.
Right.
I'm proud of us having a clean delivery of the topic to you. So I'm definitely proud of that. I'm proud of us for seeing the need and filling it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm proud of us not for just saying, I just want to start any old podcast. I'm proud of us for saying there's a community out there that's probably underserviced and probably undercommunicated to, and we can help that.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we do. We live in an extroverted world, and there's nothing wrong with that when the majority of people are extroverted.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But there are a lot of introverts too. There's a lot of people that definitely either don't feel seen or heard,
or valued,
or valued, or understood.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big one with us, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we're bringing this to you, and I agree. I agree with all of those things that you're proud of. Mm-hmm. I think, especially with everything that we are doing right now, both of us personally and professionally, to embark upon this. It's neat. It's neat to be
fun.
new at something.
It's a good thing. And
yeah.
I'm embracing it, and I'm trying to embrace those happy accidents. Yeah. I can't think of any specific right now. I was sitting here trying to think what's a happy accident, but I don't think we've experienced our first big accident / pivot yet, but
I think we're gonna call our bloopers happy accidents in the future.
We're just gonna do a whole episode of bloopers of the dog being a little But the point is, at some point, we're going to hit a bottleneck or a rough patch, or what do they call those things? A pressure point.
A challenge.
Yeah. And we're going to have to pivot. And those pivot points and how we deal with them is going to help set the table for what this podcast becomes, and its tone and its audience and its community. And like a year from now, this could be something totally different.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure is that it's going to be awesome. And with you guys' help out there, it's going to be awesome. And I'm excited for the journey and to discover what those accidents are and where we all go from here.
Right. Because what we started to be isn't necessarily where it's going to end up. Mm-hmm. And it is really neat when you see that, especially, like you said, in art, where sometimes you're going to start with something that isn't ideal, and you're going to mold it into something that can be absolutely beautiful. And it might not have been what you thought it was going to be at the get-go, but it turned out that way. And so that's kind of the way that I view any of the challenges in life now, is making sure you're able to pivot and change course and go with the flow as necessary.
Yeah, and I'm excited for all of that. So absolutely.
Me too.
All right, so maybe that's a really good place to sort of end it on a happy, uplifting note there. And to that end, I guess we'll start to wrap things up. And as we normally do, Carrie takes us out with a quote. Do you have an appropriate quote today? Is it from the Tao Te Ching? No, considering that stuff is right up the alley of what we're talking about. So if you want more on that from an Eastern Asian point of view, check that out for sure. Anyway, though, I'm just kidding. So our quote for today.
We're going to end on the quote, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take."
Wayne Gretzky.
Yes, sir, by Wayne Gretzky. Just remember, the only time you're going to fail is by not trying at all.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So I think that's a great place to leave it. Not sure we have a topic yet for next time, but stay tuned to all the socials and where you found us this time, and there'll be something more very, very soon. So
yeah, appreciate you.
Yes, very much appreciate you being a part of this community and moving forward and helping us figure out our accidents. So let's all move forward and go forward into masturbation. All right, and with that, I think we'll say goodbye and adieu, and we'll see you next time. Stay tuned. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. As Carrie and Joel bid adieu to another episode, they wanted you to be aware of a couple of things. The information provided in this podcast is for general informational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing discussed should be interpreted as professional advice, including but not limited to legal, financial, medical, or mental health advice. Listeners should always consult a qualified professional for guidance specific to their individual situation. All opinions expressed by the hosts or guests are their own and do not represent the views of any organizations or employers. While efforts are made to ensure accuracy, the hosts make no guarantees and assume no responsibility for any errors or omissions, nor for any actions taken based on the content of this podcast. Listening to this podcast does not create any professional relationship between you and the hosts. All content is provided as is, without warranties of any kind. If If you choose to rely on the information in this podcast, you do so at your own risk. Thanks for listening and be well.